Hello friends, good evening to all of you and welcome to EduTap. Friends, in this video we are going to discuss the strategy that you should be adopting for the last 15 days of your preparation for phase 2 examination, which is supposed to be held on 1st of April. And in this video we are going to focus our energies on economic and social issues. Anchit sir has already discussed the strategy for last 15 days for finance and management section in the previous video yesterday. In this video we are going to focus on economics and social issues. So let us begin our discussion. I hope that the audio is clear and the video is clear. So the important thing to note is that this particular section, economic and social issue, it can either help you in clearing the examination or it can be a very difficult problem for you. And what we are going to try and do is we're trying to understand that how can we make this section a friend of ours? How can we ensure that this section is not a hurdle for us in clearing this examination? So let us begin. Let us get the basics clear first so that there is no doubt. Okay, let us talk about the basic scheme of examination. So we're talking about economic and social issues, right? This paper is going to comprise of 50% objective marks and 50% descriptive marks, right? When objective questions, you are going to be given 30 minutes of time. For descriptive questions, you're going to be given 90 minutes of time. Totally, there is going to be 120 minutes of time for this paper, right? So moving ahead, if you look at the number of questions that are expected in the examination, so far as the objective paper is concerned, they are going to be providing you 30 questions. That is what they have said in the original notification that came out, right? And these 30 questions, they are going to be a combination of 1 mark questions and 2 mark questions. Okay, now there is a lot of discussion as to what will be the exact distribution of these 1 marker questions and 2 marker questions. And one possible scenario is that you will have 20 questions of 2 marks and 10 questions of 10 mark. That can be one possible distribution that they can give you in the examination, right? So you'll have to attempt those 30 questions. I'm talking about the objective paper, right? We are first discussing the objective paper over here. So there will be 30 marks, 30 minutes of time for approximately 30 questions that they will be giving to you, right? For descriptive paper, right, there will be 90 minutes of time and you'll be given 6 questions, and out of those 6 questions you have to attempt 4 questions. So the understanding that I am having, right, is that probably they'll give you 3 questions of 10 marks each and 3 questions of 15 marks each. And out of 3 questions of 10 marks, you have to attempt 2 questions, and out of 3 questions of 15 marks, you have to attempt 2 questions. ऐसे करके the total marks that will be 50 for both the papers, right? So you are having equal weightage over here, you can see, and total will be 100 marks. So this is the basic scheme of examination that you should be aware of, right? Okay, so there seems to be some sound issue. Just let me take care of this. Just hold on for a second. Yeah, so I don't think that there should be any problem over here now, right? So let us begin again. So, right. Okay, so we have discussed these things over here so far, right? So we are looking at 50% objective and 50% descriptive. Proposed time is 30 minutes and 90 minutes each. Proposed number of questions is 30 questions for objective and 6 questions for descriptive, and marks is 50 for both the sections, objective as well as descriptive section. Let us move ahead. Now when we are talking about the objective paper, we need to understand this very well, that there are two particular constituents, right? There is a static component of the examination and there is a current component of the examination, right? Now if you see that for objective paper, I have highlighted current in red, and for the descriptive paper, I have highlighted static in red. And there is a thought behind this. You need to understand this very well. If you want to perform well in the objective paper, based on the previous year trend, your current affairs is very important. Current affairs based ESI, which comprises of reports, which comprises of schemes, which comprises of all other developments that have taken place in the ESI domain, that is very important because बहुत सारे questions they have asked based upon current affairs in the previous year, and that trend, if it continues, then that tells you that yes, current affairs is very, very important so far as the objective paper is concerned. If you look at the previous year trends, anywhere between 80 to 90% questions have been asked from current affairs at one point or the other, and if that trend continues, And out of 50 marks which are been given for objective, if they give you, let us say, 40 marks of current affairs based questions, that will be probably very good, because current affairs in a way is a relatively easier subject to prepare than static, is many students feedback that I keep receiving. So current affairs is very important so far as objective paper is concerned. If you look at the kind of questions that have been asked in the previous years when the descriptive paper used to be a part of the exam, you will see that a lot of static understanding based questions have been asked. For example, right, what is the difference between growth and development? For example, what is, let us say, the reasons of poverty in India or the reasons of unemployment in India? Or let us say they will ask you a question related to sustainable development. So these kind of questions require a very good understanding of static. And of course, you need to integrate some amount of current affairs in your answers. But until and unless your overall conceptual clarity is good, your static understanding of what is happening in your country is good, right, that will help you in the exam so far as the descriptive component of the exam is concerned. So keep this distinction in mind, that to do well in objective, you have to be very strong in current based on previous year trends, and to do well in descriptive, you should have a decent command over static. You should have a decent command over what has been happening in the Indian economy in all these years and decades. And of course, you should also have some idea of what is happening in the present so that you can integrate that. It's like, जब आप दाल खाते हैं, राइट, तो आप दाल में छौंक लगा देते हैं, राइट, आप दाल में तड़का करते हैं. तो व्हाट इज योर दाल so far as your descriptive answer is concerned? Your dal is your स्टैटिक कंपोनेंट और योर स्टैटिक नॉलेज कि क्या हो रहा है अभी तक, और उसके अंदर जो तड़का है, उसके अंदर जो छौंक है, दैट इज करंट अफेयर्स, राइट. विदाउट करंट अफेयर्स द दाल विल बी टेस्टलेस, कोई स्वाद नहीं आएगा, कोई मजा नहीं आएगा. तो थोड़ा बहुत करंट अफेयर्स होना चाहिए, लेकिन पूरा पूरा करंट अफेयर्स ही डाल देंगे तो बहुत ज्यादा तड़का लग जाएगा, उसमें भी मजा नहीं आएगा, खाई नहीं जाएगी, राइट. सो कीप दिस काइंड ऑफ डिस्टिंक्शन इन माइंड. मैं इसके ऊपर आगे चलते हुए और इलैबोरेट करने वाला हूं. What is supposed to be the orientation? If you have seen Anchit sir's video which was done yesterday, you should see that video. You will see that in that video sir had highlighted that so far as your objective questions are concerned, the orientation is recognition. Why recognition? Because let us say that you have read that the budgetary outlay for PM Kisan scheme this year is so much, right? You have read budgetary allocation for Manrega scheme is so much. You have read the features of Manrega scheme. You have read about various reports. You have read about various indices, etc., etc. And many a times आपको देखकर याद आता है, when you see the options, you are sort of, immediately you can recognize the right option. You can recognize that, okay, this option is completely irrelevant. And therefore, in your objective paper, even with, let us say, not very deep knowledge, not very sound knowledge, you go and you sort of see the options and you are sort of, you can recognize ki, okay, I have read something like this. You can still solve the question and you can still get good marks in that kind of question. However, when you are writing descriptive answers, you have to recall a lot of points. You have to recall a lot of trends. You have to recall, let us say, schemes related to that topic, or you have to recall keywords related to that topics, and you have to write it down in the form of an essay. That is the kind of challenge. I was seeing the video that Anchit sir had conducted yesterday, and many students were asking that they are not able to recall all the points that they have read. They have read the points, they know the concepts, they know the overall trend, but still, so far as writing the descriptive answers is concerned, they have been unable to recall all the points and to be able to put those points down systematically in the form of an answer. That is a problem that many students have faced. So how can we solve that problem? We can solve that problem if our recall is good. How can our recall be good? I have been emphasizing, and I'm going to emphasize even in this video, that whatever chapter that you're reading for descriptive answer writing, right? Whatever notes you are reading that we have provided, you should make a micro note out of those notes, and you should revise those micro notes a good number of times. At least 4 to 5 times you should revise those micro notes, so that tomorrow if I ask you what is the cause of unemployment in India, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, immediately you should be able to tell me what are the causes of unemployment in India. What can be the probables, what can be the possible solutions so that we can reduce unemployment in India? You should not have to think. It should be coming to you mechanically that, okay, this can be the first solution number 1, solution number 2, solution number 3, solution number 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. How will this come? How will this kind of recall come? How can you be so mechanical in the exam? You can be so mechanical in the exam only if you have revised the micro notes that you have created, right? If you have revised the micro notes that you have created, then it is very easy for you to be able to quickly recall that, okay, these are the points that I want to write down, and then you can sort of type it out as fast as you can. So that recall has to be built. So for descriptive paper, recognition is not going to help you because they're not going to give you any options. Options are going to be there in the objective paper. In descriptive paper, recall has to be built. And how can that recall be built is something that I have spoken about and I'm going to talk about again going ahead. If we move ahead, you will be able to see conceptual clarity, right? That is a major distinction between the objective paper and the descriptive paper, right? So far as the objective paper is concerned, you should have clarity over micro concepts. For example, GDP deflator is a concept. For example, consumer price index urban is a concept, or consumer price index combined is a concept, or monetary policy committee is a concept, or let us say your accommodative monetary policy is a concept, fiscal deficit is a concept. Are you getting my point? So if you have read about fiscal deficit well, and if you have understood the micro concept of fiscal deficit well, and a question or an MCQ is thrown in front of you regarding fiscal deficit, you will be able to attempt that question well, right? So even if you don't know anything about what is the trend of fiscal deficit in India, even if you don't know what the government of India has been doing so far as tackling fiscal deficit problem is concerned, you don't have any idea what IMF says about fiscal deficit, you don't have any idea about what is the linkage between balance of payment problem that India faced and fiscal deficit, you have no idea about any of these things, but you know the micro concept of fiscal deficit well. In that scenario, if a question arises on fiscal deficit, still you will be able to attempt the objective question. Why? Because your objective question is usually based upon a narrow concept and it is not testing your overall understanding. Usually that is the case. Are you getting my point? Right? Whereas in case of descriptive answer writing, having an overview is very important. Knowing the trends is very important. Knowing various reasons for a particular problem is very important. Knowing all possible solutions of that problem is very important. Therefore, having a bird's eye view of a topic is very, very important so far as attempting your descriptive answer writing is concerned. So you have to appreciate this distinction, and if you can appreciate this distinction, you can prepare in the right direction, because you should know what is required in the examination. That is the whole point of conducting this video, to be able to tell you what to do in these 15 days so that you can maximize your scores, right? So whatever score you are going to score after watching this video, you should be able to increase that. That is the agenda of this video. Please have this clarity in your mind that micro concepts are important for objective, macro concepts and having an overview is important for descriptive. Recall is important for descriptive. याद आएगा तो लिखेंगे, याद नहीं आएगा तो लिखेंगे कैसे? Recognition से भी काम चल सकता है, पहचान लिया सही ऑप्शन को, राइट? उससे भी काम चल सकता है ऑब्जेक्टिव के अंदर. So far as ESI objective is concerned, current affairs is more important based on previous year का trend. So far as descriptive is concerned, static is more important. Knowing the concepts, knowing the definitions, knowing the problems, understanding what has been done for the problem, suggesting solutions for that problem, and integrating current affairs in that, that is very important so far as descriptive is concerned. Moving ahead, right? Let us further understand that what is the difference between these two papers. Selective study is unadvisable for objective paper. What is the meaning of this? आप एक महीने का करंट अफेयर्स पढ़ के जाएंगे, बोलेंगे मेरा ESI ऑब्जेक्टिव अच्छा जाना चाहिए, नहीं जाएगा. You have to study 4 to 6 months का current affairs well at least. That should be your first priority so far as objective ESI is concerned. If you have less time, you have not studied anything, last 4 months का you should study. If you have studied, if you have time, at least last 6 months का you should study. And you should revise current affairs. Current affairs is very volatile, उड़ जाता है दिमाग के अंदर से. If you read today, probably after 5 days you will not remember much of it. Therefore, it is important that you keep revising, keep revising, keep revising, keep revising. It is unadvisable in the sense that you have to study a lot, right? Syllabus is, ESI का syllabus is very vast. So you cannot afford that, okay, I am going to study a very small, narrow part of the syllabus and go in the objective paper. They are going to ask you 30 questions from 30 different areas. Okay. So if you have done a very, very selected study of, let us say, very, very few topics, that is highly unadvisable. So doing 6 months ka current affairs plus the important chapters of static is very, very important. To that extent, it is unadvisable to do selective study for objective. But when we talk about descriptive paper, it is advisable to do selective study. What is the reason behind it? They are going to give you 6 questions only, right? And out of those 6 questions only, you have to attempt 4 questions only, right? So let us say you are having good fortune and you go studying about sustainable development, poverty and unemployment, and growth and development, and human development, and let us say social justice. Let us say that you have done these chapters well, and you go into the exam and you can see 4 questions related to these topics, because these are very important topics. So you have studied everything about sustainable development, everything about poverty and unemployment, everything about human development, let us say everything about growth and development, everything about social justice, and they ask you question related to this topic. So you are done. So even if you have not really done a lot of justice to remaining 20-22 odd chapters, but you have done these most important chapters very well. And let us say that they ask you questions from this chapter. So then also you can be in a position to attempt those 4 questions that you have to attempt in a beautiful manner and get whatever marks you can get. So to that extent, and obviously we are having a time constraint. Obviously this is new for everybody, right? So to that extent, it is advisable that you undertake some kind of selective study so far as descriptive component now is concerned. That is very, very important, right? And so far as your other components are concerned, so far as your objective component is concerned, it is very important that you study 6 months ka current affairs and you study important static chapters. That is very, very important. So be very clear about this. What is the relative difficulty level? It is very easy to study current affairs. It is my opinion, right? That what is India's rank on this index? Who has released this index? What are the parameters of this index, right? And let us say that you have studied 30-40 important indices like that. कि India का rank क्या है? Who has released that index? And what are the parameters of that index? It is important. It is easy to do that, in my opinion. है ना? Government schemes. Let us say that you are talking about government schemes, and it is very important. ESI current affairs is very important. Let us say that you are studying about government schemes. What is important so far as government schemes is concerned? Which ministry is in charge of that scheme? What is the budgetary outlay for that scheme? When was that scheme launched? What are the objectives of that scheme? What are the specific objectives of that scheme, right? Which is the agency which is implementing that scheme? Is it a central sector scheme? It is a centrally sponsored scheme? What are the other features of that scheme? So let us say you have created a matrix, right? And you are capturing 7-8 important pointers related to a scheme in a systematic manner. So let us say that you have spent 10 minutes reading about a scheme, and let us say you have captured 6 to 8 important points related to that scheme in those 10 minutes. And then you move ahead to next scheme and to the next scheme and to the next scheme and to the next scheme. This is not very difficult. You can do it, right? It doesn't take much time. You can do it. It is also entertaining. It is also refreshing. That is my opinion, because the subject changes every 5 minutes, because every 5 minutes I'm going to turn a page and I'm going to learn something new, and I'm going to approach it in a very, very, in a very neutral manner, in a very, calm manner. I'm not in a hurry at all. I'm just capturing the most important information, right? But relatively speaking, it is a little more difficult to prepare for the descriptive paper, because the syllabus is vast, right? Because the expanse of the syllabus is huge. You have to read a lot. You have to make a lot of micro notes. You have to revise them so many times. And even after doing all of these things, the question may come from a different angle. Let us say that you know unemployment ka trends, you know the unemployment ka causes, you know the consequences, you know the solution, you know the probable solution, you know everything, right? But they may still be able to create a question which is like, slightly uncomfortable for you, right? In that scenario, it becomes a little challenging to handle that question. You will handle that question. I will tell you how to handle that question. But in my opinion, it is relatively more difficult to prepare for a descriptive paper. It is relatively easier to prepare for an objective paper. And to that extent, the scoring potential is higher in an objective paper and it is lower in a descriptive paper. Anchit sir had said yesterday a very simple and a beautiful thing, that it is possible to score 1 out of 1 in an objective question or 2 out of 2 in an objective question. It is possible. But it is probably impossible to score 10 out of 10 on a descriptive question or a 15 out of 15 on a descriptive question. It is not possible, because they don't give you that kind of marks. It doesn't happen. Right, this is not your CBSE board or ICSE board or state level 10th standard exam where 99.99% marks are being given. That doesn't happen in these examinations, right? It doesn't happen. So it is stupid to expect that you will get 10 out of 10 in descriptive answer writing or 15 out of 15 on descriptive answer writing. It is stupid. It is plain stupid, right? But it is not stupid to expect 1 out of 1 or 2 out of 2 in an MCQ, in an objective MCQ, for the simple reason that they give you that marks. So in that sense, I believe that it is having the objective part is having a higher scoring potential as compared to the descriptive part, right? The relative difficulty of objective part is a little lower. Yes, you have to read a lot, there is no doubt about that. Are you getting my point? But these are some of the important things that you need to keep in mind. Okay, if you have any opinion on this, you can always share it with us, you can always talk to us. Now let us take the things ahead, right? So based upon our understanding, right, based upon the fact that you can recognize the option and get the marks right, get the full marks without knowing much, you can get full marks in objective paper. Based upon current affairs, you can perform very well in objective paper based on previous year trends, and current affairs is not very difficult, right? We have provided you very beautiful magazines. EduTap has provided you very beautiful magazines, and those beautiful magazines can help you score very well in your current affairs in your objective ESI ka section. And we believe that objective is having higher scoring potential, and therefore you should be, you know, more aggressive towards the objective part of this examination, because it can fetch higher marks for you. If I have to give you a cricketing analogy, right, objective paper you should attempt like a Sehwag, right, because you can score good marks, which doesn't mean that, you know, you attempt all questions without knowing anything. No, but you should prepare strongly and you should try and maximize your marks in the objective paper, because that paper gives you the potential to score good marks, right? Whereas in descriptive answer writing, you should behave like Rahul Dravid, right? Why you should behave like Rahul Dravid? You should defend very strongly, right? You should not lose your wicket. You should not be clean bowled while attempting the descriptive paper, right? So you have to score heavily in the objective paper and you have to keep batting in the descriptive paper. What is the meaning of this? I will explain to you, right? Let me place another photograph in front of you to make my point that both these components need to keep performing, right? You need to be very good in objective. You need to score best possible marks in objective, right? Whether that is FM or ESI, it is the same thing in my opinion. You have to score very heavily in objective, and you have to make sure that you're batting well in descriptive, you're not losing your wicket. So score heavily in the objective. You can see over here 247, but score something in descriptive and don't lose your wicket in descriptive. That is something that you have to keep in mind. How to do that? Let me explain that to you. This is a cricketing analogy to make things a little more interesting for you, right? Now you look at the syllabus that they have given you, okay? And for your benefit, I have highlighted certain chapters in red. What are the chapters that I have highlighted in red? Let us first talk about the objective part of this examination. Let us first focus on the objective part of this examination. Okay, so measurement of growth, national income and per capita income is a chapter in which we talk about GDP, GNP, NNP, national income, per capita income, and a personal disposable income, personal income, basic price, factor cost, market price, product taxes, production taxes. We talk about all of these things in measurement of growth, national income and per capita income. This is an important chapter so far as objective component is concerned. Then comes your chapter on monetary policy. In monetary policy, talk about CRR, SLR, repo rate, MSF, liquidity adjustment facility, monetary policy committee, and your Urjit Patel committee, and your Rangarajan committee, and this committee and that committee, and how do banks create credit, and how do banks control, how does the Reserve Bank of India control credit, what is contractionary monetary policy, what is expansionary monetary policy. This is important. The next important chapter so far as objective is concerned is fiscal policy, in which we talk about various types of fiscal deficit, revenue deficit, primary having a deficit, are we having a balanced budget, what are the various kinds of taxes, what is capital expenditure, revenue expenditure, capital receipts, revenue receipts. All this we discuss in fiscal policy. That is very important. Another very important chapter so far as your objective paper is concerned is your balance of payment, in which we talk about India's trade balance, India's invisibles balance, India's capital account, current account, right, and current account deficit, current account surplus, capital account deficit, capital account surplus, overall deficit, overall surplus. We talk about exchange rate. In exchange rate, we talk about fixed exchange rate, flexible exchange rate. We talk about fixed and flexible, both combined exchange rate. We talk about various things in balance of payment, right? So, and then there is another chapter on inflation, which has not been mentioned explicitly as a part of your syllabus in ESI, but they can very well ask you questions related to that. So far as your static preparation is concerned for ESI objective, these 5 chapters are very important: growth and development, monetary policy, fiscal policy, balance of payment and inflation. these chapters should be prepared very well, right? Because good number of questions have been asked in the past based on these chapters, and going ahead they can ask you a good number of chapters based on these chapters going ahead as well, right? Coming to the descriptive part of the examination, based upon the kind of questions that they have been asking between 2007 and 2014, right? We have done this kind of analysis. From that analysis we were able to understand that these chapters are very important. Which ones? Number one over here, measurement of growth. In this we talk about growth, development, quality of growth, relationship between growth and development, difference between growth and development, growth without development, right? We have discussed all these things. We have provided notes. Our phase 2 notes are being provided at a very rapid pace. A lot of notes have already been provided. Some notes have not been provided. They will also be provided. The deadline is 22nd March that we have kept for ourselves to provide all the notes for descriptive, and we have done that very, very well. All notes have been very fantastically provided for your preparation. Moving ahead, next important chapter so far as descriptive is concerned, poverty alleviation and employment generation. Then your sustainable development chapter is very important. After that, your chapter on industrial and labor policy is also very important. Then your chapter on opening up of the Indian economy, balance of payment is important. Indian political system is important. Human development is important, and they can ask you questions on health, education, so on and so forth. So these are some of the major chapters that you should do. Of course, we are providing you detailed, relevant and exam oriented notes for all the chapters, but it is important that you understand that these chapters which have been marked as descriptive plus, these chapters are very important. So if you have to select 10 chapters that you are going to do for descriptive at least, right, you should at least do these particular chapters that I have marked over here. So I have marked around 8 chapters over here. So at least these 8 chapters should be done by you, right? And iske alawa you can select 2 more chapters. You can probably look at economic survey and union budget, and you can probably look at Indian agriculture, right? So that way total milakar at least 10 chapters you are doing so far as descriptive answer writing is concerned for your examination. उसके अंदर से they are going to give you 6 questions, out of which you have to attempt 4 questions. That is the kind of idea that you have to keep in mind. Please take a screenshot of this, right? These are your important chapters. You should focus upon these chapters. When it comes to current affairs, my friends, 4 to 6 months current affairs is very, very important. And when we are talking about current affairs, what is it exactly that we are focusing on? Reports, rankings, indices, other ESI related current affairs, RBI circulars, notification, all these are very, very important. 4 to 6 months before the examination date ka current affairs you must prepare at any and every cost, right? You can go through these various sources, or I am again and again telling you that EduTab has beautiful current affairs magazine. You can go through our beautiful current affairs magazine. If you have already done that, then you need to revise, because if you revise, then you will be able to recognize. If you can recognize, you can score 1 marks, 2 marks easily. Please be prepared for paragraph based questions also. Please read in depth about certain schemes, certain important schemes, so that when they give you a paragraph, innocent looking paragraph, you are actually able to identify that which scheme are we going to talk about. If you are highly objective while studying scheme, that you have seen that okay, किस ministry ने launch करा, कब launch करा, क्यों launch करा, कैसे launch करा, कितना पैसा दिया, क्या करना है, if you be very, very objective and they give you a paragraph based on that scheme, there is a very good possibility that you will not be able to recognize the scheme. Therefore, it is very important, it is very, very important that you read a little about the scheme, understand the soul of that scheme or the scope of that scheme, so that when in exam you are given a paragraph based from that scheme, you are actually able to identify that scheme. Otherwise, you will not be able to identify the scheme. Matlab, it's just that you were not able to identify that we are probably talking about the Sampada scheme. You have not been able to identify that we are talking about Sampada scheme, but you knew everything about Sampada scheme. You knew when it was launched, who launched it, why they launched it, what was the fund allocation. You know everything, but you could not understand from the paragraph that we are talking about Sampada scheme, and therefore you are losing out on marks. Okay, so don't do that. Be very, very smart and do things very in a proper manner. So when we are talking about schemes, which schemes are important? Past 1 year ka schemes are important. Old flagship schemes such as your Manrega etc. are very, very important. Skill India and all those schemes are very important. Scheme mentioned in latest union budget and economic survey are very, very important. Old schemes related to the syllabus and they have been in news, maybe because they have been changed, maybe because they have been updated, maybe because they have been revised, maybe because of any of these reasons. If your old schemes are in news, then you must focus upon these schemes. And if you prepare these scheme documents well that we have provided to you, very comprehensive scheme documents have been provided to us, as comprehensive as anybody can provide in India. More than that we have provided. So if you focus on the schemes document that we have provided, you are in good hands. And again, revise, because otherwise you will forget. So keep this in mind so far as current affairs is concerned. Coming to latest reports, RBI annual reports, other reports, surveys by RBI, very important. reports by international organizations such as your UNEP and let us say your IMF and let us say your World Bank and Asian Development Bank, etc. are very, very important. Census plus SECC 2011, very, very important. All the latest surveys are very important. Reports by government ministries, national bodies such as Niti Aayog, NABARD are very, very important. And I would again like to remind you that if you have already studied them, revise and revise, right? And if you have not studied them, study them. But if you are studying something tomorrow, do revise it tomorrow and day after tomorrow and day after tomorrow. ऐसे करके keep revising. Otherwise, what will happen is that you will keep moving ahead and you will keep forgetting things, and that will be very useless for you in the examination. So don't make that kind of mistake. Please revise. Many times students have this feeling that if they spend 15 minutes, 20 minutes or half an hour time revising something, that is a waste of time, right? I'm telling you from personal experience that this time that you spend revising is the only time which is actually very, very helpful in the examination, because when you revise, you are able to fit things in your head and you are actually able to recall, actually able to recognize in the examination. Those students who have been complaining on social media that they have not been able to recall the points that they have studied, you have not been able to recall the points that you have studied simply because you have studied your points only once. Go back to your memories of giving the 10th standard examination. Right? Just before the biology paper, were you telling your parents that I am not able to recollect what are the constituents of cell? No, you are not going to say that. Just before your 10th standard ka history examination, would you be complaining that you don't know what is happening in the Mughal Empire or you don't know what is happening in the Ashokan Empire? Just before your 10th standard ka geography examination, would you be complaining that you have forgotten the types of forests and the example of trees that can be seen in all the forests? No, you would not be complaining. Why? Because before your 10th standard ka examination, which is a matter of life and death, right, your parents have made sure that you have studied hard for 1 year. You have gone to the coachings, you have gone to the school and you have revised everything and you have given multiple examinations. You have also taken it very seriously. When we come towards adulthood, and when we come towards these competitive examinations, we forget about our school days. And that is the biggest mistake that we commit, right? There is no parent to force us to study in the right manner. There is no fear that if we don't clear the 10th examination, we will be probably the only ones in the entire colony to have failed the 10th standard examination. Therefore, it is very important to study, right? We don't have any of these push factors or pull factors, whatever you want to call it. So when we appear for these competitive examination, whether it is civil services or RBI or NABARD or SEBI, there is no pressure, there is no urgency to perform. And therefore we are not able to recall or recognize because we have not been so desperate to clear those examinations. So have that desperation, have that fight within you. In the last 15 days, you should fight. So even if you are not going to clear, but that attitude is very important to fight, because if you are not going to fight today, you are not going to fight tomorrow, you are not going to fight day after tomorrow. That means that you are never going to fight in your life. That means that you are never going to take a stand in your life. So you may be thinking that why am I telling you all this gyan? I am giving you all this gyan because that is very, very important. Because if you have this gyan, you will be able to read, you will be able to recollect, you will be able to recognize, you will be able to do something with these 15 days, right? And please take this very, very seriously. Coming to ESI static, I have already told you these 5 chapters are important. Take a screenshot. Very, very important topics. Remember that so far as objective is concerned, ESI current is more important than static. ESI static ke economy chapters are more important than ESI static ke social chapters. And within ESI static economy chapters also 5 chapters are most important. What are those 5 chapters? I have told you that these are the 5 chapters. Please have this prioritization right so far as ESI static objective is concerned. Having this kind of clarity of thought will help you in the examination. EduTap has provided you concept notes, summary sheets, videos, quiz, worksheet, concept check questions, revisions, test, everything has been provided to you. Many students are wondering about 2022 preparation. I am telling you that we are going to provide all of this plus a lot more. Nobody can compete with us so far as these exams is concerned. You are rest assured that you will be provided with anything and everything that is required to prepare well for these examinations. Right? So please focus on these 5 chapters so far as ESI static is concerned. If you have not studied anything, study these 5 chapters. If you have studied everything, revise these 5 chapters. Keep that in mind. Moving ahead, let us talk about descriptive answer writing. Let us understand by descriptive answer writing that what is it that exactly that we have to do. Right? If everybody is understanding, please give me a thumbs up in the comment section. In the next 10 seconds, just have to give a thumbs up that you have understood so far that you are going to fight. If you are going to fight, type yes. I just want a yes. And I can tell you from personal experience that those people who have fight within you, they succeed in life one way or the other. In this exam, or in the next exam, or in next month's exam, or in next week's exam, or in anywhere in life, you are going to succeed if you have the fight within you. So if you have the fight within you, just type yes over here. I would just like to see some yes over here. Now, Let us talk about ESI descriptive answer writing. I have had a lot of strategy calls with a lot of friends of mine, with a lot of students of mine, right? And they have been always like, how can we make sure that our descriptive answer writing paper is is up to the mark? How can we sort of ensure that, right? So let me explain to you that how can we make sure that our descriptive answer writing paper is in the right direction, right? So yes has been typed by official trailer Varun, Ash, as well as Ankit Mishra, and those all of you are watching, I request all of you to please type yes, right? All right. Now, what is a very poor attempt? You leave all questions incomplete. That is a very poor descriptive answer writing attempt. Very poor. Absolutely pathetic. Don't go into the examination if you are going to be like this, right? You have to fight. Right? You cannot leave questions incomplete. You are within those few thousand people who have been invited to appear for this examination, and please have some respect for that invitation and do not leave all questions incomplete. Do not do that. What is a poor attempt in descriptive answer writing? A poor attempt is one in which you answer some questions completely and you leave the other questions incomplete. That is a poor attempt, right? That is a poor attempt. What is an average attempt in descriptive answer writing? An average attempt is one in which you answer all questions completely. That means you have given an introduction, body and conclusion, and no answer can be considered to be very well written. And this is the stage where at least all of you have to be there in the examination. No matter what, however you have to do, you have to attempt all questions complete. And let me explain the importance of that to you. Let us assume that I am the examiner, okay? And I am telling you that reading these kind of questions ka answers is one of the most boring tasks there can be on anywhere in earth, right? Anybody who is checking answers, I have really high respect for them, because it is one of the most boring tasks to check answers. I'm being very honest with you. Are you getting my point? So it is boring also for the examiner, right? Now if I am an examiner and I have 100 copies in front of me, right? And in 100 copies there are 4 questions and there should be 4 answers. What will be the first thing that I will do? Is that I will quickly go through one copy in 10 seconds and see if the student has written all 4 answers. Okay, this student has written, okay, I will read his paper. This student has written only 1 answer out of 4, fail. This student has written 0 answer out of 4, fail. This student has written only 2 answers out of 4, fail. This student has written only 2.5 answers out of 4, fail. Why? Because competition is so high. Seats are so few that I am dead sure that I am going to get a handful of copies, probably out of 100, maybe 20 copies or maybe 25 copies, in which all 4 answers have been completely attempted. Out of the 100 papers in front of me, probably 70-75 people have attempted only 1 answer or 2 answers or 2.5 answers. I can straight away say that they are not going to clear, and I can probably give them 10 marks, 12 marks, 13 marks, 12 marks, 15 marks, 10 marks, 12 marks, 13 marks, some marks I can give them, and I can move ahead to actually focusing upon the papers in which all answers have been written. So my focus is going to be on papers in which all answers are written. It is the simplest filter to apply. I am not being discriminatory. It's just that I know, as a matter of fact, from experience, that those students who have been able to attempt all questions, they are going to have the highest probability of clearing the exam. They are the ones who have probably written all answers well, or at least some answers well. At least they have written all answers. So this is going to be the first criteria. All of you who all are watching these videos now live or are going to watch this later or whatever, you have to attempt all questions under any cost. No matter what happens, you have to attempt all 4 questions. You have to fill in the words. Now, whether those words are of, Rabindranath Tagore, or those words are of Avinash Agarwal, or those words are of you have to fill in those words. You have to fill in those words because you have to make the examiner read your paper. इसीलिए आप एग्जाम में जा रहे हो. You cannot make the life of examiner easy by leaving all questions incomplete or by leaving most of the questions incomplete. You are straight away out of the race. Are you getting my point? Don't do that. So you have to give an average attempt where you are answering all questions. Then you have to try to give a good attempt. What is a good attempt? Good attempt is one in which you have answered all questions sure, right? And to few questions, at least to few questions, at least to one question or two questions, you have given a very well written answer. And what is a very well written answer? That there has to be an intro, there has to be a body, there has to be a conclusion. You have given relevant statistics, case studies as examples to justify your points, and you have integrated some amount of current affairs in your static answer. This kind of an answer in which there is an intro, in which there is a body, in which there is a conclusion, in which there are supporting statistics, case studies, examples, and integration of current affairs may be considered to be good answers, right? Out of your 4 answers, if your 1 or 2 answers are well written answers, I cannot easily fail you, because even I have a conscience, even I realize that this is a student who has written all 4 answers and few answers are well written. I cannot fail you. I cannot easily fail you, at least, right? I can fail somebody who has written an average attempt, but I cannot easily fail someone who has written a good attempt or who has given a good attempt. And if you have given an excellent attempt, I cannot fail you. I cannot fail you. Because even I have a conscience. I will not be able to sleep at night. I will be feeling guilty that how have I done injustice to somebody who has given all answers, and all answers are excellent. And in fact, I would love to read such paper, and out of 100 papers, probably 2 or 3 papers are going to be of that quality, or maybe 1 or 2 papers are going to be of that quality, and I am sitting for 10 hours, 12 hours correcting papers just to find out this one excellent attempt or maybe 2 excellent attempt wala quality papers, right? So this is a step by step approach that you have to undertake. That is the strategy that you have to think about, that how is it that you can make sure that your attempt is an average attempt first. How can you ensure that some answers are very well written, and then how can you ensure that all answers are very well written? This is the kind of step-by-step fight that you have to be involved in. This is what you have to do, and I'm going to tell you exactly what you should do so that you are in a position to at least give an average attempt. At least I'm going to tell you that, right? Because I wanted to be first arriving over here, and then we can go towards good attempt and excellent attempt. So let us understand. Okay, now I had told you all earlier in some of the sessions that I had conducted, right, that is very important to create a micro note out of the fodder material that EduTap is providing. EduTap is providing you beautiful fodder material, okay, for all chapters, okay, that have been mentioned in the syllabus. And in fact, we are doing that in record time, right? So whatever fodder material that you are reading, right, you should create a micro note out of this. What is the micro note? So let us say that in our fodder material on employment wala issue, right, in one section we have talked about causes of unemployment, right? So type, not copy, not write, type certain keywords from that section, right? And this can probably be those keywords, okay? And keep revising these keywords. Why? Because tomorrow if they ask you a question on unemployment, knowing the causes of unemployment will be helpful. Similarly, let us say that you have read the consequences of unemployment, so you have created this micro note for that. Similarly, you have read the section on trends in unemployment and you jot down the most important statistics. Similarly, you have read the section on jobless growth and you have jotted down micro note where you know what is the meaning of jobless growth, trend of jobless growth, causes of jobless growth, consequences of jobless growth. Similarly, let us say that you have read the section on measures to reduce unemployment, and while reading that section, let us say that you spend 20 minutes reading that section on measures to reduce unemployment, and while reading you are simultaneously typing the most important keywords. So let us say that you have typed out these most important keywords. Let us say that when you are finally concluding that chapter, right, you are reading the way forward in 20 minutes, and while reading that way forward you have jotted down these micro notes, right? Now when you know so many keywords relating to the issue of unemployment or employment, and a question appears in the examination, no matter from which angle, right, a question appears in the examination related to the chapter of employment unemployment, you will write something. You will write something. Why? Because you know it all. You know the trends, you know the numbers, you know the reports, you know the causes, you know the consequences, you know the issue of jobless growth, you know the measures to reduce unemployment, you know the way forward, you know the schemes that the government has taken, you know the types of unemployment, you know it all. You know it all. In 500 words, you know the entire chapter of unemployment or employment. You know the entire chapter. So when a question comes, you are going to give some answer. Now, is that answer very good answer? It depends. That depends. But at least you are going to give some answer, right? And that is what I am talking about, that read the chapters. Read, please, for the love of God, read the chapters and make micro notes, right? And recollect those micro and revise those micro notes 4 times, 5 times, and go with those micro notes in the examination. And when a question comes, even if you do not know the exact answer, write as best as you can. Write as best as you can. Say a story. Do what you do whatever you can relating to that question. But please, for the love of God, write the words. Do not get yourself eliminated by leaving any question incomplete at all. Don't do that. You owe it to yourself. You owe it to your friends. You owe it to your family. You owe it to yourself. You owe it to everybody who hopes to see you clear this examination, that you attempt all 4 questions. At least पूरा भर के तो आओ पेपर को. और कैसे भर कर आओगे? जब अगर सपोज कर लीजिए कि you have read sustainable development का chapter and you have sustainable development का micro note, मतलब you have, let us say, 500 keywords related to sustainable development in your pocket, right? When a question comes on sustainable development, no matter from what angle, right, you somehow write 200 words, 250 words, 300 words. Examiner will give you some marks. 3 marks दे देगा, 4 marks दे देगा. Fact that you have written a complete answer from, let us say, word 1 to word 300, probably, मतलब he doesn't want to give you marks or she doesn't want to give you marks, still वो कुछ marks दे देगा. This is the kind of approach that you have to have. You have to fight for every mark. And now this is an average attempt, that कैसे भी करके पेपर भर दिया. And how do we go towards a good attempt? You should have an introduction. You should have a body, right? In the body, you should fulfill the demand of the question. You should have some kind of a conclusion, which should be positive, which should be optimistic, which should be solution oriented, right? You should have some kind of a positive conclusion, right? Please don't start crying in conclusion. Please don't be negative, pessimistic, angry, and completely hopeless in the conclusion. Nobody wants to have those kinds of civil servants or bureaucrats or people working, because we all want, at the end of the day, employees who are positive and employees who believe that enthusiastically something can be done about the country, right? So please be positive in the conclusion, and in your answer, if you can incorporate certain statistics, certain reports, certain schemes as value addition ideas, that will be very, very helpful. So how do we sort of ensure that we come alive out of the descriptive paper? We have to come alive out of the descriptive paper, right? Like Rahul Dravid, we have to come out, right? It doesn't matter how much you have scored. What matters is that you come alive. You have ensured that you don't lose your wicket, right? That is what you have to ensure. That is what you have to fight for. And in the objective paper, you have to be like Sehwag, and you have to try and score as many marks as you can. That is the kind of approach that you have to think about. That is the kind of strategy that you have to think about, and you have to hope and pray that you are actually able to do that. And the most important thing is that you have to fight for it. Because if you develop this attitude to fight for things, it will be helpful in this examination and also in going ahead. And it is not as if that I have given you only a moral lecture, fight, 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 fight. I have also told you the important chapters, right? I have told you 5 important chapters for ESI static. I have told you 8 important chapters for ESI descriptive. I have told you the importance of current affairs and how you should approach current affairs 4 months ka, 6 months ka, right? And I've also told you that how you should create micro notes. And I've also told you that you have to ultimately write your answer with a proper introduction, with a proper body, with a proper conclusion, with some value addition ka points. And I've also told you that even if you are reading a chapter, let us say that you are reading a chapter, let us say that I have provided you a fodder material related to, let us say, budget and economic survey, and that fodder material is running into 80 pages, which is a fact. It is running into 80 pages, right? So even if you are reading a fodder material for 80 pages, finish it off in 5-6 hours, gather the most important ideas that you can gather, and be positive and happy, because there is no cost of being positive and happy, right? It's just a matter of choice, right? So make the right choices. Keep this in mind, right? This is the paper that you are going to attempt. It is going to be 50% objective, behave like Sehwag, try to maximize over here. This is 50% descriptive, behave like Dravid. Do not lose your wicket in this paper. You will have 30 minutes to maximize marks, 90 minutes to survive. In 30 minutes that you have to survive, you will have to attempt 30 questions of 1 marks and 2 marks each. Attempt the best possible questions. Attempt the ones that you are sure about first. Then once you have attempted the questions जिसके बारे में आपको surety है, आपको मालूम पड़ जाएगा कि what is the level of difficulty of the paper, then come back and attempt the questions which you are relatively sure about and relatively unsure about, and then leave the questions that you are completely unsure about, right? So far as 6 questions from descriptive paper, you have to attempt only 4. So pray to God that 4 questions come from the chapter that you have read about, and pick up those 4 questions and write everything that you can in that allotted time of 90 minutes. And please try to make sure that out of the 4 questions that you are attempting, at least 1 question is very well written, Hopefully 2 questions are very well written. I'll pray that at least 3 questions are very well written, and you pray that all 4 questions are very well written. Out of this 50 marks, stay above average. Whatever is the average, stay above average. I hope that you are able to score 30 or maybe 35 or maybe 40 depending upon the difficulty level of the paper. And out of this 50 mark, I again hope and pray that you remain at least at average. At least if the average is 20, you are getting 20 marks. If the average is 18, you are getting 18 marks. And if you can get 25 or a 28 or a 30 or a 32 or a 35, right, that will be like, I'll clap. I'll be very, very happy depending upon the relative difficulty of the paper. And out of this 100, please stay at least at average, right? At least average के ऊपर रहना, so that if your descriptive English and FM is above average, you are safe, and try to go above average so that you can actually be in the merit list. This is the kind of idea, this is the kind of strategy that I wanted to discuss with you. I hope this has helped up to a certain extent to you, right? So I'm going to answer some questions that I can see in the chat box. Sir, how many statistics facts are necessary in one answer, right? So this is like asking how many statistics are necessary. It depends upon the answer that you are attempting, right? So if you can have 2, 3, 4 meaningful statistics, right, which are like obvious statistics, which like the examiner expects you to present, right, that will be helpful. That will be very helpful, right? For example, if you're talking about sustainable development, then you should know the statistics related to India's nationally determined contribution, INDC. Are you getting my point? So you should know those statistics. You should present those statistics that this is India's long-term plan. Are you getting my point? Right? So that is the most important statistic. So depending upon the question, at least the most important statistics must be presented is the basic minimum idea that you should keep in mind. Right? Magesh, you're asking, sir, will RBI Grade B notification come in 22? I have no idea. My Jyotishi is not telling me about my marriage. He is not also telling me about RBI 2022, and I'm not joking. But I am working so that, I can improve myself so that matrimonial prospects can be improved. Similarly, you keep studying so that your prospects of clearing the RBI examination improves. This is the kind of idea that you have to keep in mind, right? Ash, you are saying that this is an eye-opener session. I'm very happy that this has helped, right? Please organize a session on filling biodata form. We have many queries. The management will take care of this. This feedback will be provided to Anjit sir and Deepak sir that students are facing difficulty in filling the biodata form. So if we can help, we will surely help, and I'm sure that we are always able to help, right? Officials, you're saying, are we supposed to even complete the summary sheets apart from the new fodder material that you're providing, or the new material covers everything? The new material that we are providing is for descriptive answer writing. All the material that we have provided so far is for the objective part. So know this distinction very clearly. Okay. So the new material that we are providing, right? Read as much of it as possible, and please create micro notes. One very important announcement over here. Many students may want to spend 8 hours preparing for ESI descriptive or 6 hours preparing for ESI descriptive. That will be absolutely stupid. Why? Because let us say that you are spending 10 hours day studying, okay, and you are spending 6 to 8 hours preparing for ESI descriptive. Don't do that ever. You will never clear. Okay. There are 3 papers, right? So whatever time you are having, it should be divided in 3 parts. Something for descriptive English for sure, right? Do not neglect descriptive English. I can promise you that many students will not be able to attempt descriptive English well for the simple reason that they have neglected it, right? So do not neglect it. 1 घंटा दे दो, 1.5 घंटा दे दो, जो देना है दे दो, लेकिन दे दो. FM is also important. ESI is also important. Within FM, Anchit sir has told you, management is easier, management is smaller. Management के अंदर ज्यादा मार्क्स आ सकते हैं, फाइनेंस के अंदर भी मार्क्स आ सकते हैं, इकोनॉमिक्स के अंदर आई हैव टोल्ड यू ऑब्जेक्टिव के अंदर ज्यादा आ सकते हैं, डिस्क्रिप्टिव के अंदर प्रॉब्लम आ सकती है. प्रॉब्लम नहीं आनी चाहिए, उतनी तैयारी हमारे को करनी है डिस्क्रिप्टिव की. सो प्लीज डू नॉट बी ओवरवेल्म्ड बाय डिस्क्रिप्टिव प्रिपरेशन, वेदर इट इज फॉर FM or whether it is for ESI. Please be rational, please be balanced, please be careful in your approach, that you are not spending too much amount of time studying for descriptive, because that may not be very helpful, because objective is more scoring, because objective is easier. Therefore, divide time adequately so that you are able to at least give an average performance in descriptive. Do not lose your wicket, but do not try to be a Sehwag in descriptive answer writing. That will be very, very difficult. Please keep that in mind, right? All right. So what are the other questions that I can see? Should we give statistics along with report and body? You should reports if you can, you should give government schemes ka examples if you can, right? You should try to do that. You should integrate. One of the students that I was speaking with, a good friend of mine, he told me that he's trying to integrate whatever he's reading in current affairs with whatever is there in the syllabus ka descriptive answer writing wala part. For example, if you are reading health related schemes, just be aware that you should be able to write the names of these schemes or the objectives of these schemes in your actual question related to health in mains answer writing. If you have read schemes related to education, which you have read, which you have by hearted, okay, just write the name of those schemes when you are writing question answer related to education. If you are writing, if you have by hearted schemes released by Ministry of Environment, know those schemes and cite those schemes ka naam in your descriptive answer writing का paper. If you have by hearted the reports related to environment, कि वो report में क्या बोला गया है, just remember one line that okay, this is the report and this is the one line important related to that report. And when you are writing an answer related to sustainable development climate change, write the name of that report, that falana falana report says falana falana about falana falana thing. Examiner will be impressed. So this is the kind of integrated approach that you should adopt. But how can you adopt that integrated approach? You can adopt that integrated approach when your current affairs is strong and you have basic understanding of what is happening in sustainable development and climate change ka chapter. And when you are writing answer related to sustainable development climate change ka chapter, you should be able to write the key words that you have read across the syllabus as a part of your answer, and hope and pray that the examiner gives you above average marks for this excellent effort that you have undertaken. That is the kind of approach that you should have towards using schemes, indices and reports and giving that as a part of your descriptive answer writing. I hope that this is very clear. राइट ऐश सर, वुड कवरिंग 8 चैप्टर्स फॉर डिस्क्रिप्टिव सफाइस? देखिए वैसे तो मैं बोलूंगा यू शुड ऑफिशियली यू शुड कवर 26 चैप्टर्स, बट इज कवरिंग 26 चैप्टर्स पॉसिबल? डू यू हैव 26 days बिफोर द एग्जामिनेशन? नो, you do not have 26 days before the examination. So do what you can, do it the best possible way you can and go and fight in the exam, right? What matters is that are you willing to put up a fight? If you are not willing to put up a fight and you have done 26 chapters, still you will fail. But if you are willing to put up a fight, even if you have done 8 chapters or 12 chapters, there is a good chance that you will be able to perform well in the examination. It doesn't matter where you start from, it matters how well you are ready to fight in the examination. Keep that in mind. Right, official trailer. Sir, fodder material updated till date having all necessary facts into which can be written in the answer. Do we need to refer standard book? Please refer to current affairs material for some value addition that you want to put into the answer. The fodder material has been created to develop your conceptual understanding related to that topic. Fodder material cannot be updated on a real time basis. Like I cannot update the fodder material today or next year or the year after that every day. Nobody can update their fodder material every day. What can be updated every day is current affairs ka magazine, which is getting updated every day. Therefore, please utilize the beautiful current affairs ka magazines of EduTap to add value to your answer, is my answer to your question, right? Please organize the session. Okay, biodata is done. Sir, are mock tests provided in your course? Yes, Rahul Satya, mock tests are provided in our course. If I am remembering it correctly, which I am remembering it correctly, tomorrow is the first full length mock test. So tomorrow is the first full length mock test as a part of our course, right? Sir, so can we safely assume that descriptive would cover static 90%? I do not know. I cannot say that. See, there is a difference between, see, try and understand this very, very clear, that when we talk about the descriptive fodder material, right, I have not discussed GDP, GNP, NNP, depreciation, national income as a part of descriptive fodder material. Descriptive fodder material is for descriptive answer writing. And your static, the material that we had provided earlier in the course was for objective. So if you are preparing for static part of the objective syllabus, read the 5 chapters that I mentioned. And the 8 chapters that I have mentioned, that is for descriptive part. Please do not get confused. Please do not be under this assumption that if you read the descriptive of fodder material, it will take care of your ESI static objective completely. That will not happen. Please don't be under that misunderstanding. ऐसा हो सकता है कि if you have read ESI descriptive का static material, it may help in answering some questions because of the understanding that you develop. Objective वाला questions को help कर solve करने में help कर सकता है. But it is very important to be very clear that all the chapters that we had uploaded earlier before the notification are going to be helpful for ESI static objective, and all the chapters that we have uploaded after the notification are going to be helpful for descriptive answer writing. That is the primary purpose of uploading so many chapters and so much fodder material, because we wanted to prepare you as much as we can for the descriptive part of this examination. So please bear this in mind very, very clearly, right? Yash Srivastav, report indices last 6 months is enough. Yes, it is enough, right? And Rahul Satya have answered the question about mock test, so that is very, very clear. So I think that it is the right time for me to bring this session to an end. I have answered all the questions that I could have answered. I have given you all the inputs and insights related to the kind of strategy that you should adopt. I have told you that you have to fight, and it is at the end of the day your life that you're talking about. So always be ready to fight, right? So whether you are appearing for RBI examination or whether that is at any stage of your life, the one person who has the fight within him should be able to do well. Because see, adverse situations and scenarios are always going to come in front of you in your life, and if you do not have the fight and you cannot face up to those adverse situations, then it will be very difficult, right? So it is very important to have this kind of attitude, especially it will help on 1st of April. So develop it for 1st of April, but remember it for life. That is what I would like to say to you. With this, we'll bring this session to an end. Thank you very much. All the very best, and Jai Hind.